Is a documentary about a train ride across Canada really a must-see for Grateful Dead fans? How about a book about a busted-up speaker cabinet from the Dead's famous Wall of Sound? Welcome into the Rock Talk studio, the show for rock and roll fans who love the books and the documentaries and all that great rock and roll history, but just don't have the time to sort through the noise. I'm Big Rick. I do the reading, I do the watching, and I gladly do the digging, so you don't have to waste your time. And today, this is a bonus episode inspired by the recent passing of Bobby Weir. Today, it's all about those must-watch and reads of the Grateful Dead. Let's start out with the documentaries. I've got two classics for you. I got a wild card, a lesser-known film that also features the Dead, and then I'm going to wrap it up with some just-announced Jerry Garcia news. I mean, there is one that is the definitive Grateful Dead documentary that most people would put on top of their list, but I'm going to start with this one, and that's the documentary called The Other One, The Long Strange Trip of Bobby Weir, that came out in 2014. I just watched the memorial the other day for Bobby in San Francisco. Definitely shed a few tears. It was beautiful. It was so well done, so well put together, and a great way to celebrate the life of Bobby Weir. And from that, Bobby's passing had me thinking about all the great Grateful Dead projects, and that is what inspired this bonus episode. That and a bunch of people coming to me and asking me, Big Rick, what's a great Grateful Dead book? What's a must-see documentary? So here they come. A little history on The Other One documentary. It came out at the Tribeca Film Festival. It premiered in April 2014, and then Netflix picked it up in May of 2015, and it is still going on Netflix, so you can still check it out. It puts the spotlight right on Bobby. There are some great unearthed archive stuff here. Also, some really good interviews with members of the band and different musical friends are in here. I like the inclusion of that. Also, some really great concert footage. Very, very well done piece on Bobby Weir. And this is one I would highly recommend. It's a great celebration of him. Here's another one I would highly recommend. It's called Long Strange Trip, and it came out in 2017. And this is the one. This is widely considered the most comprehensive and definitive documentary on the Grateful Dead, and I would totally agree. It's directed by Amir Barlev and executive produced by Martin Scorsese. The film is a 4-hour epic. It's split into 6 parts, and it chronicles the band's 30-year history. I liked it because it's not a glossy puff piece. It tells the whole story of the Dead, including Jerry's complicated relationship with fame, his struggles with addiction, and the toll it took on him and his health. Those 6 distinct chapters really marked different turning points, from the early acid tests in San Francisco through the breakthrough of American Beauty, all the way up till Touch of Grey, when everything kind of blows up, and the slow unraveling that followed that. It's also loaded with incredible archival material pulled straight from the band's vaults. Much of it was never seen before at the time. And then it's paired with honest, really clear-eyed interviews from Bobby and Phil and Mickey and Bill. They're all included in here. Such a great documentary. I would highly, highly recommend this one, Long Strange Trip. All right, I told you there was going to be a wild card in the deck here. Has anyone seen Festival Express? Festival Express came out in 2003. While not solely about the Dead, this is a classic doc about a 1970s train ride. It was a tour across Canada with Janis Joplin, the band, Buddy Guy, and the Dead, and it captures just iconic moments. This is rock and roll history right here. It's packed with great live performances, rare footage. This doc has a great early 70s authentic vibe. You've got Jerry trading licks with Janis Joplin and Rick Danko from the band, playing with Buddy Guy. And it's really cool because there's no egos, there's no set list. It's just musicians listening and responding to each other in real time. You also get some other cool Dead stuff here. There's captures of both offstage and on, performances of Don't Ease Me In, Friend of the Devil, and there's a really cool electric new Speedway boogie. This one is a treasure. If you can find it, Festival Express. All right, let's do one more, and this one is a little different also, but I wanted to include it because it offers just kind of a different side, and it's called Box of Rain. It came out in 2022, directed by Lonnie Frazier, and the film centers on Frazier's own transformative experience. At 17, she survived a traumatic assault and struggled with suicidal thoughts, and then she was invited to see the Dead at Red Rocks in 1985, and this show became life-altering. It introduced her to a supportive, non-judgmental community that she credits for saving her life. And this film, though not about the Grateful Dead themselves, it's more about the Deadheads who follow them. And I like that angle, and that's why I wanted to include it here. It makes for an alternative view. It features diverse narratives discussing how the music and scene shape their lives. It explores how the community functions and how it focuses on positive, thoughtful aspects of the Dead rather than just the stereotypes. This is a really cool doc, and I want to include it and recommend it to you. Box of Rain. I mentioned in the beginning there's some Jerry Garcia news that just came out. Actually, as of January 2026, Justin Kreutzmann, Bill Kreutzmann, the Dead's drummer's son, is directing the first authorized feature documentary on the life of Jerry. It's produced by Radical Media and the Jerry Garcia family, so the project has exclusive access to Garcia's personal archives, and it's expected to provide the most intimate portrait of the late guitarist to date. We'll see about that. I am looking forward to it. Sounds really interested. You know I'll keep you updated on all the breaking news that come out about that one, a new picture about Jerry Garcia. I was going to get into the books, but I want to mention one more because it's a personal favorite, and I think it needs to be included in the conversation when you're talking about Dead films, and that is the Grateful Dead movie. Yes, I know it's not a documentary, but it is one of the best captures of the Dead live. This one came out in 1977. It's a full concert. It was filmed during the Dead's 5-night run at Winterland Ballroom in San Francisco in October 1974. And the performances at that time were thought to be some of the last shows before a hiatus. It captures the band live in extended sets, a lot of crowd footage. There's interviews in here, animation, and the massive wall of sound is there. The sound system they used is featured in this film. Kind of a must if you're taking a look at the Grateful Dead. It's called the Grateful Dead movie. All right, let's take a look now at all those really good Grateful Dead books. But before I jump into that, I want to let you in on a book I'm giving away. It's about a guitarist who came out in the late 60s, early 70s psychedelic scene, kind of like the Grateful Dead. And at that time, this band the guitarist was in, they were known for long exploratory jams, atmospheric guitar work, kind of spacey, improvised approach that the Dead used. Can you take a guess on who I'm talking about? Giving away books and other things that I can get my hands on from sponsors of the podcast is always something I'm looking out for. I want to provide another layer of value to you, the listener of the podcast. So last year, I really dug in. I gave away over 10 books. I even gave away some really great merchandise from the 10th anniversary of the Outlaw Music Festival. And today I'm happy to kick off the new year with a book that I'm giving away about a guitarist. Did you guess who I was talking about? He was in a psychedelic band in the 60s and 70s that grew into one of rock's biggest bands. That band's called Pink Floyd, and I'm talking about that amazing guitar player, David Gilmour, probably one of my favorite all-time guitar players. A new book just came out. It's called David Gilmour, Luck and Strange Studio Live. I actually have 2 copies to give away. Thank you to my friends at Thames and Hudson Publishing for hooking that up. Here's how you can win this book. There's 2 ways, and both of them are included in the show notes. So after podcast, go to the show notes, to the description about the episode, and you can send me an email at info@rocktalkstudio.com and just say, hey, Big Rick, sign me up for the David Gilmour book. Or you can subscribe free to my newsletter that keeps you on top of the world of rock and roll books and docs. Comes out once a month. So there's a little button that you hit, sends you over to my Substack link that'll give you a free subscription. And that will enter you in to win this new book, David Gilmour, Luck and Strange Studio Live. Here come a bunch of books that I would recommend if you're looking for good books about the Grateful Dead. Let's start with a very popular one. It's called A Long Strange Trip, The Inside History of the Grateful Dead by Dennis McNally. Pretty much considered the definitive authorized biography. It was written by Dennis, who is the band's official historian and publicist. It really is a thorough, detailed historical account, and it covers the band's entire run and the surrounding subculture. This is a place I would go to start, and that's what people ask me, what's a definitive book? I'm going to put this one on the top, A Long Strange Trip. Here come a couple books from band members that I would highly suggest, and one is Searching for the Sound, My Life with the Grateful Dead by Phil Lesh. It's the basis memoir, and it's a great introspective look at the music itself and the creative process. Phil was a very interesting character, and he was really into the sound and the music and how they tried to reach different heights during performances. Really cool. I like this view of the Grateful Dead and the view of Phil Lesh, Searching for the Sound. Okay, Bill Kreutzmann wrote a book, The Drummer. It's called Deal, My 3 Decades of Drumming, Dreams, and Drugs with the Grateful Dead. And this is a wild one. It's an unflinching account of life on the road. It includes vivid stories about the music, vivid stories about the drugs and the high times. Kreutzmann is a character, indeed, and I like the way this book was written. This one's a little bit more wilder than the others, but a good read all in all. I'm going to get into 2 books now that came out recently. This one is probably the most unique of them all. It's called A Silver Snarling Trumpet, The Birth of the Grateful Dead. It's the lost manuscript of Robert Hunter. Robert Hunter wrote with Jerry and the band a lot of the lyrics for the Grateful Dead music. It was published in October in 2024. And this one is more of a historical document. This is Robert Hunter's actual manuscript, kind of like his diary, his notes that he was taking when he was just a kid when he first met Jerry Garcia. It reads kind of like Kerouac style, very stream of conscious. Remember, this is in the 60s, and he was very young. This is a document like no other, and for that alone, I found it very interesting. The Silver Snarling Trumpet, the lost manuscript of Robert Hunter. And if you want to learn a little bit more about that, I reviewed the book last year. It's episode 45, so you can go back in the archives and really dig in on this book. You can also dig in on this next one I also reviewed, came out last year. It's called Loud and Clear, The Grateful Dead's Wall of Sound and the Quest for Audio Perfection. This one was written by Brian Anderson, and it came out in June, and it tells the full story of the band's legendary Wall of Sound, that massive, groundbreaking speaker system the Dead toured with in the early 1970s, and how they really pursued the live sound and clarity and innovation and became groundbreaking for live sound. It is very in-depth in both the technical side and about the people who came up with the wall, including band members and crew and engineers and fans. Really interesting look at the Dead sound and what it was like when they were touring with this Wall of Sound. I really enjoyed this one and the look at the Wall of Sound. If you want to learn more about this one, episode 78 is my full review in the archives. All right, that wraps up our celebration of the Grateful Dead, all the good rock and roll books and documentaries. I hope you found a couple of good ones to check out. In the last few months, there have been 4 new Beatles projects, 2 documentaries, and 2 books, and there is another doc coming out this month. If you enjoyed this show about the Dead, next week it's going to be all about the Beatles. All right, let's tear it down, pack it up, and head on down the road. I'll catch you next time in the Rock Talk studio.